That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about Mother Couch, the directorial debut of Niclas Larsson, which premiered at the 2023 Toronto International Film Festival. Film Movement is releasing it July 5th, 2024.
Directorial debut.
Based on a Swedish novel.
What is Mother Couch about? 3 children are brought together when their mother refuses to move from a couch in a furniture store. What's your pull quote?
An absurdist existential exercise on grief and regret, Mother Couch benefits from an exemplary cast in this wearying nightmare scenario of familial dysfunction.
Mine. Strong performances and a compelling story save Mother Couch from being completely absurd. So what is it about? Basically, Ewan McGregor is having a dream that his mother went to a furniture store and won't get her ass up off a couch. So his brother and sister show up to try to help.
Griff and Linda, played by Rhys, Ifans, and Lara Flynn Boyle as Linda.
And it's clear that the 3 siblings are not very close. We find out they have different fathers each. And Ellen Burstyn plays the mom. And she's just telling all her secrets. Basically that she never wanted to be a mother. That the fathers of her children didn't want to be fathers. But really it's focusing on Ewan McGregor and all the baggage that he has associated with his upbringing. We see that he's married with a kid and the marriage is not great. He's not connected to his child.
Lake Bell is the wife.
But this furniture store they're staying in, it's owned by F. Murray Abraham, but it's run by his daughter, played by
Taylor Russell, Bella.
And Taylor Russell, the minute we meet her, we know that we're probably in an alternate reality because she's real kooky. But...
Well, and F. Murray Abraham is playing twins.
Yes.
Marco and Marcus.
But in the end, after Ewan sort of loses his cool with his mother, there's a big dinner happening because this furniture store is huge, but it's not like Living Spaces or IKEA. It's like a big thrift store.
It's called Oak Bed Furniture.
And upstairs are like living quarters, which is where Ellen Burstyn has been and where Ewan McGregor spent the night. But, excuse me, he, after he has an altercation with his mother, he goes downstairs to find that there's a huge dinner party happening. And then all of a sudden, it's like everything's fun and light when Taylor Russell tells Ewan, you know you can't stay here forever. So basically confirming that he's in his head. And then we see that he's actually at his mother's funeral. There are some other little things, but the ending is him visiting a river and his brother and sister join him.
And there's a couch in it.
The end. Yeah, I think there's something off about this movie. I'm sure the book is very compelling.
There is kind of this energy of that I would describe as a distilled humor that I think feels very Swedish or Scandinavian, because it reminded me a lot of Christopher Borgly's films, who did Dream Scenario and Sick of Myself. And but also Roy Andersson, a fellow Swede, and his kind of existentialist trilogy. Like, this could have been just as likely called A Mother Sat on a Couch Reflecting on Existence, which is a reference to one of his film titles, which won the Golden Lion in Venice. But it also feels kind of like a demure version of Beau is Afraid. Yes.
I said it felt like the Kirkland brand or Equate brand of Beau is Afraid.
And there's nothing wrong with it. I really think the score is pretty unique by Christopher Bear, who did Past Lives. And I like how it looks. It was shot by Chayse Irvin, who I thought did fantastic work on Blonde and Andrea Pilaro's Hannah. But we really are kind of set mostly within the confines of this department store, which is really gloomy and depressing to me.
Yes. The film opens with a line that says, "It was all very simple. They were looking for a dresser. Blood wouldn't spill until later."
Which is kind of what happened. Which I'm assuming is a line from the book, maybe even the opening line. But They're at this furniture store looking for a dresser that used to belong to his mother, and she has the key to it. And of course, we revisit that dresser later on.
There are two worst hair nominees, but I'm assuming they're on purpose, but they're still horrible wigs and hair. So first is Ellen Burstyn. She's wearing this wig that looks like something out of the Jetsons. I don't.
It is such an ugly wig, and we see her sleeping in it, and then she takes it off after she gets into a head injury. But like that looks uncomfortable to sleep in for sure.
And then F. Murray Abraham's character is balding, so his hairline's way back, but then he has this comb over that's pointless.
It's not far off from what Giancarlo Esposito's wig looks like in Maxine.
Sure, if that wig had a receding hairline.
What about Lara Flynn Boyle?
Well, that poor lady. She doesn't. Is she like semi-retired?
Yeah, she doesn't do a whole lot. But I think the last movie I remember seeing her in, she's been in some stuff, but was probably Men in Black 2.
She's wearing this crunchy blonde wig, and I thought she looked like if you mix Rose McGowan and Elizabeth Banks, and then sprinkle in a little Lisa Rinna.
Those lips, yeah.
Yeah, she was. I mean, I also thought, oh, we must be in a dream when she popped up. But early on in the film, because we're not sure how Ellen gets to the furniture store, but Ewan shows up and we see that he's kind of stressed because he's supposed to be at his daughter's birthday party, but his mom is acting up. She doesn't want to leave. He goes to get her food. She's being kind of ominous. And then all of a sudden she hands him a key, like one of those skeleton keys that open up like an old-timey desk. But she doesn't tell him what it is for. But obviously we know that that's going to unlock something to spill some secrets. And we learn that when Ewan was a kid, he knew that he had other siblings who he wasn't really connected with, and he didn't know his father. So he would write them letters. Mm-hmm. And then in the end, at his mother's funeral, he opens up a dresser and sees that she kept all his letters. Because part of his trauma is associated with not having a father, feeling like his mother didn't want him, and then feeling so disconnected from his siblings, which all stem from partially from these letters that were never sent out. Because his siblings sort of intimate like, well, we don't really try to get together. You don't seem that interested. Like all these years passed. So I think the subject matter's intriguing, but it's also very obvious. Like I feel like there's not a lot to dig into.
Well, yeah, it's almost kind of off-putting, really, because Ewan McGregor is so passive that I feel like even as an audience, we kind of discount whatever he's going through. It's like, just yank this old lady. Like, I think we were both coming up with alternative plans in this scenario. Like, what would we do to our mother if she wouldn't leave the department store? It's like, well,
because Lara Flynn Boyle keeps saying call 911, but everyone's like, no, don't do that, because Taylor Russell says no, and of course Ewan doesn't want her to do that. But I think it's not funny enough.
It's not funny, and then like with Beau is Afraid, which kind of has this overwhelming quality about it, but was spiked with moments that were, I thought, quite emotional. Those are kind of this film is void of those moments, except for I think 2 moments with Ellen Burstyn, who I think is,
which are sort of in succession. She has this sort of long scene where she's explaining to her son that she says to him, related to the fathers of her children. Well, first she tells him that she was pregnant way more times than the amount of children she has. Mm-hmm. And she even tells Ewan, I tried to get rid of you too, but you clinched on for dear life. And then she says that the 3 of you, my 3 children, are the result of men demanding my love. But clearly she didn't love them and she didn't want these children. And she says those both lines sort of in the same scene. I thought that was the most emotional moment of the film.
Mm-hmm. And if you liked Ellen Burstyn in this, I highly recommend. You haven't seen it yet, but she has kind of a similar-ish vibe in Wiener Dog, the Todd Solondz film.
I think I knew that we were in a dream state when we meet Taylor Russell, because she's just too weird. Mm-hmm. But then what really clinched it for me is she tells the family, because they're getting antsy, like they want to leave. And Taylor's saying, well, I have to close up my furniture store. But if you want, you can sleep upstairs. Like, okay. But then in the middle of the night, she returns because she says, oh, if my dad found out I left you here, he'd be mad. And then immediately she asks Ewan, do you want to grab a shower? And he says, together? She goes, no, of course not. And then things get weird. And all of a sudden, she's taking a shower, like, in front of him.
Mm-hmm. And asks him for a towel.
And then she has, like, a full pot of food ready to go.
Yeah.
So that's when I knew, oh, this is not reality.
Right.
So then I also assumed from the premise that the entire film would take place in this furniture store. But in actuality, Ewan McGregor leaves a few times. One time is to go get food for his mom. But another time is to go to the beach to meet his wife and daughter. And then he takes the daughter from the wife. Don't know where she's going.
She's going to work.
Oh, work.
Mm-hmm. She's like, I can call... But it's so odd that it feels very much like a nightmare.
Well, because then there's this, like, handsome man who the wife is sort of interacting with, and it clearly bothers Ewan. Mm-hmm. He takes her to the furniture store initially, the wife, which was unclear to me. Like, why would this man have to drive her when she has a car? But Ewan loses his daughter at the beach.
Almost immediately.
Like, instantly. And then finds her, reprimands her, and she's upset on the drive home.
And then Ellen Burstyn references that moment, which of course would be impossible.
Like, how would she know? Yeah. So when we find out that F. Murray Abraham has a twin, because the first twin we meet is kind of simple and really nice and friendly. But the other brother is like the one who runs the business. And he's like, oh, I found out y'all spent the night. So you're going to buy this bed you slept on, right? And he's asking for like $2,000. And Ewan's like, no. Well, yes, we did stay here, but your brother said we paid like $1,000. And the evil twin gets mad. And then we have a Diary of a Mad Black Woman scene where F. Murray Abraham grabs a chainsaw. And he's like, oh, since you only want to pay half, I'm going to saw this bed and couch in half. Which is like, why would you tear up your shit?
Right.
But so at the point where Ewan is like fed up with his mother, because earlier he tries to like touch her and she's opening up letters, which then brings up the whole, he used to write letters to his dad.
And she just has a letter opener she's brought to this furniture store.
She also intimates that she never sent them, but she won't confirm it. And then Ewan seems upset, like, you have this knife, this is not safe, because he thinks she has like dementia. And then he goes to like grab her and sort of stabs himself. Mm-hmm. And the way his mother reacts is like he's just some crazy stranger on the street, which is like, her character is written in a way that she does a very good job feeling like a mother who does not want to be a mother to these people.
Yes.
Because she's very cold.
She's cold, a bit manipulative.
But then later he gets frustrated and just grabs her. He's like, that's it. Snatches her ass up. And she had told him, if you try to grab me, I'm going to fling and fight. And I'm going to like throw myself down so I injure myself. And that's what she does. Mm-hmm. So then she's bleeding, and then that's when she takes off her wig, and her actual hair looks so much nicer.
It does, yeah.
But it's after that he goes downstairs and sees the nice dinner.
And then he's, for a while, got this letter opener stabbed in the back, which is also a reference to her saying, like, I won't stab you again. I wouldn't stab you in the back. Family can't do that to each other.
Right, but then we see that he has been stabbed in the back.
Literally, yeah.
We also see after Ellen hits her head and she's bleeding, someone's like, are you okay? She goes, I've been bleeding my whole life. This is nothing. And I thought that's something I would say.
Yeah.
But I think the line in the film that sort of sums it up is at the dinner scene, while they're having a good time, I believe it's F. Murray Abraham's character says,
one of them,
life is too short to worry about commodities that don't work. So basically saying that holding on to like this emotional trauma is not useful.
This non-functional baggage, yeah.
Oh, but then then that's when Taylor Russell says, you can't stay here. And Ewan says, well, where am I supposed to go? And then it starts raining. And then it's like Noah's Ark. Everything's flooded, which also reminds me of Beau is Afraid, which I'm sure the book was written before the Beau is Afraid, but Ellen is upstairs screaming, like, help me get out of here. And then they push the couch out of the window. And she gets on it like a raft. And she tells her son, you have to let me go. And then she floats away.
The rope that's holding onto the sofa, she's like, you have to let go of the rope.
Like an umbilical cord.
Like the umbilical cord that has never been separated, yeah.
And then we cut to her funeral. And I have to say, the creepiest part of the movie was the little kid singing at the funeral. Mm-hmm. He was like something out of Pet Sematary.
Yeah.
But then, like I already mentioned, after the funeral, he drives to like a body of water. And we see his siblings show up. And the couch is in the body of water. I just wish I would have felt something more, either more emotional. Like, I feel like a story like this should have had me in tears. And I was just I felt very flat about it. I was letting it wash over me, but...
Yeah, the siblings, they do have a blowout where McGregor's screaming at them and saying, I wrote you all these letters, you don't care about me. And they're like, we never got these letters. But there's never really a moment. I think the end metaphorically is supposed to be the mother's death then has been the impetus for them to be reunited in reality. But there's no real moment of catharsis, I think, is what you might be searching for in it.
I think for the people who kind of liked Beau is Afraid but thought it was too complicated or heady, I think they might prefer this more because it feels quite simple. Like it's just spelling everything out.
Sure, I think it's leaving some things that are open to interpretation a little bit.
Sure.
But I think on a rewatch, maybe it would seem too simple.
What would you give Mother Couch?
3.
I still think it's good. I would give it 3 out of 5. Join us on Patreon and listen to our podcast. Bye.